So once again, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for coming today, and welcome to Conversations Day 2023, back in the PISE gym. Yay! My name is Jen Stone, and it is my very, very great pleasure to act as your MC for the duration of the morning. Before we begin, I'd like to acknowledge that Camosun campuses are located on the traditional territories of the Lekwungen and WSÁNEĆ peoples. And it's with gratitude that we acknowledge and honor the land itself and the people who have been its stewards throughout the generations. The theme for this year's Conversations Day is Eye Chay Nowel Ul, doing good work together. And as you may have already guessed, Eye Chay Nowel Ul is the SENÇOԹEN phrase that translates to mean doing good work together. So this is also the title of one of the priorities of the new strategic plan, which features artwork from Coast Salish artist and alumni Dylan Thomas. And if you look to my left, your right, you will see the Camosun canoe that features artwork by Dylan Thomas, featuring the legend of Camosun. And a similar image of Camosun holding paddles is also featured on the cover of our new strategic plan. So this year, rather than having a keynote address or a panel of speakers, we wanted to put the conversation back into Conversations Day by connecting through activities and discussions focused on how we're doing good work together here at Camosun. And this is based on the feedback that we got from you through the ThoughtExchange that we ran way back in the fall, if you remember. We'll hopefully have a full and thought-provoking morning ahead of us. And before I take a time out from my MC duties, I just want to provide a quick overview of the agenda for this morning. So in just a moment, I'll invite Dr. Skip Dick, who will provide a welcome. He's leaving. Not yet, come back. Followed by remarks from our President, Lane Trotter. Then Janice Simcoe, retired director of ÍY ခြANEUEL, the Center for Indigenous Education and Community Connections, has rejoined us to help frame the conversation of doing good work together through the principles of the 4 R's of Indigenous education: relevance, respect, reciprocity, and responsibility. Alima Ali, Organization and People Development Specialist with Human Resources, will introduce and facilitate table discussions. And also, please watch and listen for Martha McAllister, the education developer with Settle, who's going to be keeping us on track with a lovely drum sound. So just listen for that. We're going to have a half-an-hour break around 10:15, followed by sharing our answers to the questions via Mentimeter, and then we'll have a final discussion, on responsibility. So without further ado, I'd like to please welcome Dr. Skip Dick.
Wow, that's amazing. My dear friends, my traditional name is Lachichchalach, the name that was given to me by my family, so I know my family and I know where I belong. I share that with you because you have a name that was given to you by your family. And like you, I can go anywhere in the world and I know I belong somewhere. That sense of belonging, I don't know how to spell that out and share that with you as well. But during my time with Camosun and university particularly with Camosun, that I sense that real sense of belonging. I've heard it from profs, from workers, all through the years to say, this is where I belong. One of the real wonderful things that pays back from our communities, when we see our elders watching the graduates going through, they don't say anything, but they shake their head and nod their head. That's where I want my children to belong. The turnaround from that has been so wonderful. In the years past, people would graduate and not return home. They say, you can't afford me. I'm going to work someplace else. Today, we have hundreds coming out of all the programs, graduating and returning home. I can't stress enough how wonderful that is to see the capacity. Building at home is really wonderful. How do you tell the people in the front line the kudos of all the work you've been doing without being patronizing? It's really tough, but it's really difficult to express the thank you, the haichkas. When I see the turnaround in the communities now, the only one that I've been using was when I was working with School District 6261, was that I noticed that our families were dragging our children to school. Today, you see the children running ahead. There's something that those instructors, the teachers, the profs have said that have instilled the initiative back into the community. It's so wonderful that it's happening to us today, in our time. When you think of the atrocities that we're going through, or we're still having to fight through, you see all those wonderful little things that are going on. And I have Camosun to thank. Haichka. But with that, when we have all our paddles in the water at the same time, the same stroke, we know we're going somewhere. We're not being complacent about what we're doing. We just want to be there. This is where you belong. Haichka. And welcome to our territory from the Lekwungen people. Haichka. Have a real wonderful day.
So I'm messing with technology, and that's never a good thing. So, good morning, colleagues. How are you doing? Okay. So for our faculty colleagues, and you go in the morning or in the afternoon and you say to the students, how are you doing? And they go, yay, right? How are you doing? We're together in person in 3 years. So I want to begin first by thanking Dr. Skip Dick. Skip, I was saying to Skip as I was coming up the ramp and he was going down the ramp, Skip, you are a hard act to follow. You set a high bar, and I just want to say thank you for caring about Camosun. For me, it's always an honor when Skip joins us and provides good words. And those words talking about the change in students wanting to be here, the change in the attitude of our community, making sure that our Indigenous students are welcomed and are succeeding, and then those students are going back to their communities. We are indeed doing good work together, but we have more to do. And I also want to thank Jen for the introduction and the overview of today's agenda. Before I continue, though, I want to take a moment to acknowledge that Camosun College is located on the traditional territories of the Algonquin and the WSÁNEĆ peoples, and we acknowledge their welcome to our students who are here seeking knowledge. Skip mentioned some of the atrocities that have happened in the past, and I just want to take a moment to let all of you know that our thoughts are with the families of those who attended the Alberni Indian Residential School following the reveals by the Sechot First Nation of unmarked graves. So if we could all just take a moment to reflect on that. Colleagues, that's why we have work to do, and we are going to do that work. As a president now for just over a year, and I can't believe it's been a year, it seems like a blink of an eye, I've learned a great deal about the college, faculty, staff, students, and myself. And part of that learning about myself was being a grandparent. And you always hear me speak about wanting to be a grandparent, now being a grandparent with perhaps the cutest grandbaby on the planet. And yes, I'm smitten. But why we're here today is about our own development, about encouraging lifelong learning. And it's been my honor to meet with you, not all of you yet, but at some point all of you, and talk to you formally and informally about the work that you do every day to support students, whether you're in the classroom, whether you're working in facilities, whether you're a groundskeeper, whether you're working in the registrar's office, whether you're working at whatever campus to support students, every one of us plays a role in supporting our students. And I am off script now, and I just want to say one thing. When I get up in the morning, I can look in the mirror and I can say, did we make a difference in somebody's life? And I know what the answer is. That answer is yes. And when I get home and when I go to bed, I look in the mirror and say, did we make a difference in somebody's life? And the answer to that is, yes, we did. So how many of you believe that like I do? Just put your hands up for a second. Not low, like loud and proud. Yeah, yes, thank you, Skip. Okay? We support student success. That's not me, that's you. So thank you for that. I want to let you know that recently I met with one young man from the employment training preparation class who told me how he feels that he is a Camosun College legend, having overcome personal challenges. He feels because of his time at Camosun, he is more confident about getting a job, and that is true for all of our students, and that's because of you. Students thrive and succeed. Now, Camosun College has our brand new strategic plan with the last paddle just brought out on Wednesday, and that's going to be our guide for the next 5 years. So over the past 6 weeks, we introduced each of the priorities, paddles, signified by those paddles, and hence having our canoe here, featuring the artwork of Coast Salish artist and alumni, Dylan Thomas. That plan reflects thousands of comments, ideas, hopes, and aspirations from hundreds of students, employers, alumni, community members, employees. So thank you to all of you for your contribution to our brand new strategic plan. Each of the priorities are equally important to our success, although some may resonate a little differently and a little more to each of you. And I hope you can see yourself and your values in each of them. The new strategic plan builds on the last plan laid down when Sherry Bell was president. During the consultation and in many conversations, we heard strong support for the existing vision, mission, and values. We still believe in relevant, innovative, and applied education. Again, we get students ready for their next phase in life, and we help those students, like that young man I met with, come to the college to get the skills so that he can be independent. One of those priorities we mentioned is doing good work together. Today's event reflects that priority. We need to do good work together. And what we found out about the reveal tells us that there's more work ahead. Each of us can achieve something great, but by working together, we can reach even greater heights. So now I'm attempt to say, you know that I am phonetically challenged, right? So I'm now going to do my best, colleagues. Eye Chay Nowel Ul is SENÇOԹEN for doing good work together. And I'd like to end my remarks with a short video featuring a conversation with Jasuntin, Dr. John Elliott, Sartlip, First Nation, elder and knowledge keeper. So welcome, let's have a wonderful day, and again, thank you for all of your amazing work, for supporting our students, supporting our community, and making Camosun the best darned college in the country. Thank you.
So, Jacintin, could you help us learn the word for doing good work together, or the phrase for doing good work together?
Sure can. We would say, Eyēʔ Sqà'lewen Ul.
Eyēʔ Sqà'lewen Ul.
Eyēʔ Sqà'lewen Ul.
Eyēʔ Sqà'lewen Ul.
Perfect, that sounds good.
Oh, thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
And can you tell me a little bit about what it means?
That means working together in a really good and respectful way. Yeah, that's what it means. Working together in a real good and respectful way, to get, whatever work it is. Yeah. Eyēʔ Sqà'lewen Ul.
Eyēʔ Sqà'lewen Ul.
That's the one.
Thank you, Jacintin. You
You're
honor
very-
us by sharing that with us.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Skip, and thank you so much, Lane. I'd like to invite Janice Simcoe to the stage. So happy to have you back.
Thank you. I'm setting my timer. In the time I've been away, I learned how to use this app on my phone. So hello everyone, my name is Janice Simcoe, like Jen said, and I acknowledge the beautiful words that Dr. Skip shared with us as we began the morning, and the good words that your president, Dr. Lane Trotter, is sharing with you. I know that both of these guys really care about what happens here, and I know that everyone sitting in this room really cares about what happens at Camosun. So as Jen said, I'm retired. I finished 31 years at the college this past June. And during that time, I worked in yes, thank you. So during that time, although always in the First Nations or Aboriginal or Indigenous realm, I worked in student services. I was an instructor. I was a department chair. And in the last 5 years, I was part of the senior leadership team of the college. So although I never worked in grounds or taking care of buildings or taking care of technology, which I learned how to use my timer 2 weeks ago, so that wouldn't have worked. I know that all of those different parts of the college that I've worked in and that I've observed friends and colleagues working in, they all require a certain kind of energy, a certain kind of focus, often intensity. They require so much knowledge, so many skills, and so much love. As Lane said, it makes a difference when you put all of that out. And as we think about being together in all of those different parts of the college, then we can recognize that although all of our work is different, in so many ways, all of our work is the same. So all of the areas that I worked in, they always required that strong focus and concentration on what we were doing, and that was about students. So I got the opportunity to come and speak with you about doing good work together. And I'm so privileged to be able to do that. And I thank the college for the trust in having me do that. So I know that as you're moving into a new strategic plan, you're moving into yet more transition. And that can be really hard, and it can be really exciting. So I think that all of the paddles really matter. And the paddle about doing good work together is for students, and it's also really for you. So we're going to spend some time talking about this. Excuse me. So if I can get the new slide. Thank you, Alan. There. Now, you have a lot to give students who walk through your doors. This is a picture of me at 30. Before I did all these jobs at Camosun, I was a student here. And I came here very shortly after I turned 30 and very shortly after I lost my mother. I had not been living a very good life. I had, thanks, Monty. I had, this is gonna fall over. It's okay, thanks. Anyway, I had not been living a really good life. I had work that I didn't like anymore, and life was really, really hard, and I had forgotten how to take care of myself. And then when my mom died, it really became clear as a new 30-year-old that I needed to take a new direction. So I came down to Camosun College and looked at all of the things that were here and made a decision about what I wanted to do, and did a bunch of other stuff that you have to do to sort of get back into finding an education, and I found one here. I worked hard for sure, but the people that I met, primarily the instructors, they worked really hard too, and they helped to change my life. And I know now that behind them were the student service providers, who I never used their beautiful services because I didn't know that they were for me. As an Indigenous person of my age, I didn't have a good experience with education before, and I didn't trust educators, and I didn't trust myself within education, but I was really, really determined to do it. And so I only spent one academic year here, but it completely changed my life. I left this place to go on to university with a sense of my capacity and a sense of dreaming and vision, and my whole focus about what I thought that I wanted to do had changed because I began to see that fire that had always been burning in me but had been tamped down by life. My time here was an incredibly precious gift. And it was facilitated by the people I met who were instructors, but it was facilitated also by the people that kept the institution running, the people that made those services that I didn't avail myself of, the people who made sure that the institution was still in place. It was there for me. And it paved the way for the pathway of the rest of my life. And I will always, always be so grateful to this place. I know now, that was 1985, however longer this is, 35, 36 years later, well, more than that, 38, I guess. The college has really grown. You have grown in the work that you do, and you'll be able to do it together, and you are doing it together, and it will be an even more wonderful journey for the students that you're serving right now. So how do you do that? How do you do good work together? How do you look across and see your colleagues? This is one time a year that you always get to sit here, and it's been a real long time since this happened. So how do you do that? There is a model that may be very useful. Alan, if you could see the next slide. And Jen referenced this. It's the 4 R's of Indigenous education, which are relevance, respect, reciprocity, and responsibility. And we lay these principles on the foundation of relationship and relationality. We all actually practice the 4 R's in a transitional way all the time. You know, we always look for, well, what is it that we want? That's sort of the relevance. And if we're thinking in a business model, which we engage in trade all the time, yeah, what is it we want? Or if we're business people, what is it that you want? And then how much respect do we have to show in order to get that? In other words, like how nice do we have to be? How much do we have to sort of highlight what it is that we've got that other people want? And then the reciprocity piece can be, how much does it cost? How much am I willing to sell this to you for? How much am I willing to pay you for something else? And then the responsibility is that you actually make the transaction. So we do that all the time, and we take it for granted, and it's the way that, you know, that systems work, and it's not a bad thing at all. But if we lay those 4 R's on the foundation of relationality, then we see those 4 R's in a very different way. And that's what I'm going to talk about for the next little while. So next slide, please. Who knows who this is? Tell me. Someone got it right. I heard somebody saying Roger Daltrey. So relevance. So what has Roger Daltrey got to do with relevance, the 4 R's of Indigenous education? Well, I'll tell you. Roger Daltrey was a member of the Who, which was a very, very popular band back in our boomer times. And the person who wrote the song that I'm going to be talking about is Pete Townsend, who was the songwriter and leader of the band. And they wrote a rock opera called Tommy. And in this rock opera, which was made into a movie in 1975, it's quite a weird movie. I'm not suggesting that you look it up. But it's got this underlying story of this boy or this young man who was completely isolated. He couldn't speak, he couldn't hear, and he couldn't see, and he was all alone. And there's a part of one of the key songs, which these words are part of in that film and in that rock opera. And they say, see me, feel me, touch me, heal me. So see me, look at me, feel me, have empathy with me, touch me, inspire me. And if you do that, then I can begin my healing process. So that's why I brought Roger up onto the screen to talk about relevance, because in the film, Tommy finds relevance through pinball. But he finds relevance because he finds a community and he's seen and he's heard, he's empathized with in the way that you can, and he's inspired to move forward, and he begins to heal. He moves out of that place of isolation. What he does matters. So we know that there's story after story after story after story that tells that same story. Is how do we see those who we serve, and how do we see those that we work with? And how do we hear them? How do we speak to them? How do we empathize with them? How do we inspire them? And how do we all work together for the healing that we all need to do? The next R, if I could have another slide, is respect. And this is a depiction of the medicine wheel, which many of you will have seen. It references all of the sort of realms, the elements of our beingness as human beings, the spiritual, the emotional, the physical, and the intellectual. So we can use the medicine wheel, we can avail ourselves, I should say, of the medicine wheel in many ways. And one of the ways that we can do so is that it helps us to map all of those elements of ourselves. And when we're thinking about respect, we think about space. So we've got spiritual space, all of us do, regardless of whether we've got a religion or a spiritual practice. We still have spiritual space, and we feel it in the energy and in the connectedness with each other and with nature, with the land, with the sky, with the sea, with the trees. So we have spiritual space that we all share. We have emotional space that we share, and we know that. And we struggled during the pandemic around being isolated from people and not really being able to share that emotional space in the same way that we, always did. We have physical space, which is really clear. It's our sensory world. It's where we do practice all of our senses, where we locate ourselves in a physical way. And when we say that we share space, we're often talking about that realm. And then, of course, we've also got the mental or intellectual space. What's our ideas? How do we communicate with each other? How do we think about things? What are the intellectual spaces that we share? So when we're talking about respect, we really need to be talking about all of those realms around, am I respecting your spiritual space? Am I respecting your emotional space? Am I respecting your physical space? Am I respecting your intellectual space? And this is something that really goes out. It's not necessarily about it coming in. It's about putting it out there, that respect. And we know that when we do that, it comes back to us. So next slide. The third R is reciprocity. And this depiction, this picture, is the three sisters. A lot of the Indigenous nations across Turtle Island or North America that were agricultural prior to contact have some form of Three Sisters teachings. So we know about the corn. The corn is tall and majestic, and it provides food. It provides the kind of food that gives us energy. Corn also provides the makings for toys and for other things that give pleasure in life. You can use every part of the corn, but the corn, she uses a lot of nutrients. So she needs her sisters to keep thriving. So she uses a lot of nutrients, so her sister, the bean, feeds the soil, feeds the corn, and as food provides protein to the humans that consume it. But corn is often grown in heat. Beans can be grown in heat. And so what do you do about the sun? Well, Sister Squash comes, and with her big, beautiful leaves, she protects the soil. and so she protects the roots underneath. So between these three, and squash provides vitamins, gives the strength, gives the immunity. So between the three, you've got energy, you've got nutrients that give you strength, you've got vitamins that keep you well, and then it works really well if you put brother fish in the soil before you plant any of them. Then he's feeding the plants that then come and feed the humans. So the Three Sisters is a really good lesson about reciprocity, about we each put into the soil the gift that we have, and that gift enables our brothers and sisters, our cousins, our uncles, our aunties, our children. It enables all of them to give what they can give. It keeps others alive so that they can keep us alive. We go around, we go around, we go around, we go around. And if anybody stops contributing, it impacts everybody. And if everybody contributes, it gives us a whole meal, a whole garden. So next slide. Our final one of the 4 R's is responsibility. And I put up a caption onto this PowerPoint thinking, well, considering how things are right now, people may not be feeling like getting told that they carry great wealth. We know what it costs to go to the grocery store and all of the other things that we have to live with, and we live in one of the most expensive cities in North America. So do we carry great wealth? Relatively speaking, some of us do. And relatively speaking, some of us don't. This statement is not about finances. It is about the wealth that each of you carries that enables you to do the amazing work that you do. You carry knowledge. You wouldn't be working here if you didn't carry knowledge. You carry skills. The skillfulness of Camosun employees is remarkable. You carry capacity, and by that I mean you carry the opportunity to keep learning, to keep doing, to keep shifting, to keep responding to an environment that never stays the same. And my timer just said I used up my 20 minutes, so I'm going to talk really fast now. But with your responsibility, that's where we come back to the reciprocity, is each of you is one of the sisters, regardless of your gender. Each of you is the brother fish, regardless of your gender. Each of you has this wealth and the responsibility to use it. So the 4R teachings provide you with the opportunity to do good work together, to paddle together. Next slide quickly. To paddle together, to be moving forward. There's a process around observation and assessment and thinking about stuff, being together before you start moving. Where am I in the canoe? Who's with me? Who's my skipper? Where are we going? All of this stuff. And then getting a shared vision for the next slide. And when we've got that shared vision and our shared plan, then that's when we can really start moving together and get to the journey that we've decided we're going on. So I hope that this has been helpful. I thank you for listening to me, and it's been so good to see you, my Camosun family, again. Miigwech.